And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final part of the show, we are going to now preview tonight's game between the Las Vegas Raiders and the Detroit Lions. Obviously, both of these teams are coming off of blowout losses. Last week, the Raiders losing to the Bears 30-12, and the Lions losing to the Ravens 38-6. Now, for this game, I expect the Lions to win this game pretty easily, you would think. And quick thing with the spread pool. So I can win the big one, the bigger one that I'm in. I can win the week. But what I need is for this game to be a final score that adds up to either to 52 or over. That's what it has to be. And you're probably thinking that is way too high. Because what's the over-under? Does it have it down here? Let's see. So right now the over-under is 46.5. Yeah, so not looking good right now. Now, that doesn't mean... Now, listen, it could go higher. Because, listen, the Lions could score a lot of points. Raiders can get some garbage points towards the end. Listen, all I need is a final score of, 34 to 20. Can we get that? I think that's doable, right? I could see that happening. I think Jimmy Garoppolo will play in this game, so that's good to get him back, even though he's a guy that just keeps getting hurt. And I feel bad for the guy, I really do. He's always getting hurt. And listen, I think the Lions at home coming off of a loss like that, the Raiders are not a good team. The Lions are a much better team than the Raiders. They're at home. They should win this game pretty handily. So I'm going to say the final score is going to be 34-20. I'm picking with my heart in terms of the final score because I don't know if it's going to be that, but they'll win and cover the spread. And maybe for the first time in my life, I will win one of these weeks in these spread pools that I've been doing. And I got 11 games right. So listen, I kept making fun of myself because my predictions were really bad, but this week was my best week. And hopefully that continues and this isn't just an outlier. But let's kind of compare the stats between the two teams. In terms of their offense, the Lions, they are ranked much higher in all the offensive categories than the Raiders are. The Raiders actually are 32nd in rushing, averaging 68.6 rushing yards per game. Lions are 10th, averaging 118.4. Passing yards, Raiders are averaging 231.9, which is 18th in the NFL. And the Lions are averaging 271.7, which is 5th. And then points, Niners are top 10, they're 8th, averaging 24.9. Raiders are averaging 16, which is 30th in the NFL. And then on defense, Raiders actually, believe it or not, are top 5 in against the pass. They're giving up an average of 199.6 passing yards per game. They also have gone up against Jordan Love and Tyson Bagent. And Mac Jones, Kenny Pickett, Russell Wilson. Well, even though Russell Wilson actually has a decent amount of passing yards this year. But they went up against Josh Allen and Herbert. So I guess it's kind of but still, you got to respect it, The Lions actually are 22nd against the pass. They are giving up an average of 258.7 passing yards per game. Then against the run, Lions are really good against the run. 2nd in the NFL. Giving up an average of 76.3 rushing yards per game. Raiders are 25th, giving up an average of 129 rushing yards per game. And then points allowed, both defenses are around the same. Lions are 19th. Raiders are 21st. So, we'll see. They get Garoppolo back. You saw Davante Adams in the news again. He said he's happy to be a Raider. So, and that was something that people were, kind of, skeptical about with, what's his commitment to this team. Because obviously it hasn't gone the way that, he would have hoped. Because he wanted to play with Derek Carr, his college teammate, and the Raiders casted him out, got rid of him. They bring in Jimmy Garoppolo. And obviously Garoppolo doesn't have a big arm like Derek Carr and doesn't have a big arm like, Aaron Rodgers, who Davante Adams played with his whole career up until last year. So obviously Davante has to adapt to to that. But also, like, the Raiders got to get him the ball. But I talked about this with some people a lot as well. I mean, you got Josh McDaniels, who used to be with the Patriots, Garoppolo, Jacoby Myers. They like their guys. And Jacoby Myers has played really well for the Raiders this year. But you got Devontae Adams. That's your guy. That's who you got to go to. A lot. I mean, he's got to get the ball. And for some reason, he hasn't really had an impact. He did drop a touchdown last week. I expect him to have a good game. But we'll see. I mean, he had a good game against the Steelers earlier in the year. Now he's going up against a team that he's familiar with. So, he's kind of had a couple of, weeks where he really hasn't done much. I mean, I think this is a week where he can have a good game. But I just think the Lions, ultimately, they're the better team. I mean, they're going to be playing. The Raiders are going to be playing from behind a lot in this game. And listen, especially because the Lions are coming off of that bad loss against the Ravens. I mean, they're going to want to take their frustrations out on a team that's not very good. And, also the Raiders running the football, it hasn't been good because, I mean, Josh Jacobs, he had his best season last year. And this year he really just hasn't been as effective. Raiders have been struggling to run the football. So, I mean, I don't know how much they're going to be running it tonight because, like I said, I think they're going to be playing from behind a lot tonight. So we're just going to have to wait and see how it goes. But, yeah, right now the Lions are the better team. Raiders are 3-4. They could get themselves back to 500 with this win, but I don't see it happening. I just don't. The Lions are really good at home. And, the Raiders' offense just isn't great. I mean, I don't think Garoppolo's it at quarterback. I mean, I think Garoppolo's a decent quarterback, but, but I don't know. Crazier things have happened. But the big thing for me here is I need the score to be 34-20. Get the over in the total score, and I win my first week in my spread pool ever. Because I did good in the spread pools. I did good in just picking the game straight up. Might be 3-3 this week in fantasy. 4-2 possibly. Because right now I'm going up against my cousin in my family league. And she has Jahmyr Gibbs. And I have Devontae. So I need Devontae to have a good game. But, I still want to win the game in the spreads with the Lions. Because, I'm still, behind the leader by a lot. So I'm hoping Devontae has a good game. And the Lions, they put up their points. And we get it to a final score that's over 52. That's not too much to ask, right? But, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it with the, talking about this game. Obviously, again, more injuries this week, which you just hate to see. Kirk Cousins getting injured, that really just hurts the NFL. Because he was having a great year. And, getting the Vikings back to 500 was big, but now, who knows what's going to happen with the Vikings. And, other quarterbacks got hurt too this week. I mean, Tyrod Taylor got hurt in his game against the Jets. You're seeing injuries all over the place, and it's just not good. But that's what happens. It's going to continue. But, we're at that midway point in the season. And, I mean, before you know, we're going to be in the playoffs. So, but you don't want to rush it. Obviously, we're approaching November. Holiday season is coming up. We got football games on all the major holidays. And, yeah. I mean, we're rolling right along with the season, but after this week, I mean, once again, the question remains: so who's good? Who's the best team right now? Because Now the Chiefs had a bad game, so now everyone's going to be like, oh, well, now it's this team. It's week to week, but when people get annoyed and they're like, oh, well, last week you said they were the best team, now they lose and now they're not. But the other thing is you got to have things to talk about. Because you just say, well, this team's the best team, and that's it moving forward. Like, it changes week to week. It really does. And again, this week was another example of that. Chiefs lost, Niners lost again, Cowboys won big, so now everybody's going to be on the Cowboys like, oh, they're back. They're back, right? No, they're not. Now, are they a playoff team? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely they are. But do I look at them as a team that's better than the Eagles? No. Now, we're going to find out next week because those two teams will meet in Philly. That's one of the late afternoon games, so that's big. It's a big game. But, we'll see how the Lions play tonight. They get back into the conversation. The Bengals, after they looked like everybody was counting them out, they look good now. The Dolphins, the Bills, how they played on Thursday. They're going to be playing the Bengals on Sunday night. Chiefs and the Dolphins are going to be playing each other. So, it's a week-to-week thing right now. Every team has had one bad loss. So, anyone can be beat. Anyone can be beat. It's all about and the other thing too is you got to look at matchups. How does one team match up against the other? Because we saw the Commanders. The Commanders almost beat the Eagles yesterday. But the Eagles, Jalen Hurts played well, and they were able to win that game. So they could have lost that game. And you're saying, how did the Commanders lose to the Giants, who have one of the worst offenses in football, but they could beat the Eagles. They can hang with the Eagles. It makes no sense. It really does. But that's what happens. How do the Broncos, who got blown out by 70, or not blown out by 70, but they had 70 points scored against them, how do they go from that to beating the Kansas City Chiefs? No idea. No idea. That's what this season is. Jalen Hurts, 4 touchdowns, no picks against the Commanders, but he throws 3 against the Jets. Jets have a good defense, but how do you? And they lose to the Jets. How does that happen? How does that happen? Zach Wilson went 17 of 36 yesterday, and the Jets won. Now they shouldn't have won, but they did. That's just what this year is. That's just what this year is. It's unpredictable. We have no idea what it's going to end up being. We can assume, we could say this team could go, but ultimately, no idea. No clue. Everybody knows nothing. Nobody knows anything. That's how I look at it. And let's see what the coming weeks brings us. And honestly, I like it. I like that we could look at this and say, yeah, I don't really know who's going to make it this year. I have no clue. But yeah, well, like I said, we'll just have to see how the rest of the season plays out. Another week almost over tonight. Obviously, the last game, and that's pretty much it for me today. I thank you guys all for tuning in. Make sure to like the video, comment, and subscribe. Obviously, to both YouTube channels. We'll be back again tomorrow, same time. And, so that's basically it. Once again, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to tune in tomorrow. And enjoy the game tonight. And I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.